In history, many have fought for freedom, but the story of Spartacus has always stood apart. He was not just a gladiator, he became a symbol of defiance against an empire, a legend of liberty. His life is a true heroic saga, from slavery to rebellion, from defeat to legend. But there are many fascinating facts about him that you might not know. Now we will present 10 incredible truths about Spartacus's life. Are you ready? Let's begin. Fact 1. Spartacus's childhood and birth. Although the exact date of Spartacus's birth is unknown, historical sources estimate that he was born between 111 and 109 BC in the lands of Thrace. Thrace was a harsh land known for its wild mountains and fierce winds. It was here that Spartacus spent his childhood, in a simple peasant family, within a tribe breathing the spirit of war and battle. From an early age, Spartacus harbored a deep desire for freedom. He learned to ride horses, wield weapons, and master the art of combat from a young age. The harsh climate of the mountains and the strict demands of his ancestors strengthened his spirit and shaped him into a warrior. Each day was a struggle. The fight for survival strengthened both his body and soul. Fact 2. Service as a soldier in the Roman army. A turning point in Spartacus' life began when he joined the Roman army. Having learned the art of combat from a young age in Thrace, Spartacus sometimes found himself serving in the imperial army, rather than standing with his own people during the expansion of the Roman Empire. The Roman army was one of the most disciplined and formidable military forces, and for strong and brave warriors like Spartacus, it was both a harsh and intimidating environment. Spartacus participated in many border battles alongside the Roman legions, distinguishing himself on the battlefield through his courage and skill. However, under the harsh and sometimes ruthless military policies of the empire, he could be nothing more than a soldier, a tool that had completely lost its personal freedom. Spartacus stood out not only for his physical strength, but also for his intellect and leadership abilities. His experience in the Roman army taught him strategic thinking and battle tactics, which later helped him lead his rebellion more successfully. This period was crucial in shaping Spartacus's character and turning him into a hero and symbol of freedom. Fact 3. Being sent to a gladiator school as a slave under the harsh laws of the Roman Empire, Spartacus' fate led him to a gladiator school, the sharp edge of death itself. The famous gladiator school of Lentulus Batiatus in the city of Capua had become a ruthless arena where captured warriors fought for blood and victory. The life of every gladiator there was uncertain. They faced death every single day. Although Spartacus was once a free and brave warrior, he had now become one of the condemned prisoners of this harsh school, treated as a mere slave. His assigned duty was simple: to sacrifice his life in the arena to entertain Rome. Every day in the school was filled with harsh training, merciless fights, and brutal competition. Spartacus struggled not only to survive alongside the other fighters, but also to keep his spirit unbroken. He was strong enough not only in body, but also in willpower to overcome this cruel environment. This school didn't just teach him how to fight, it was also where Spartacus developed his leadership skills. He began uniting the other gladiators, encouraging them to see each other not just as rivals, but as comrades. This unity later became the foundation of the Great Rebellion. Fact 4. The rebellion that began in the gladiator school. Spartacus and his comrades faced the cold face of death in the arena every day, growing ever more distant from freedom. Yet the fiery spirit of rebellion within them never died out. They were not content with merely protecting their own lives. They had a greater desire to be free. One night, a secret and precise plan was devised among the enslaved gladiators. They had no weapons, but their willpower and trust in one another were strong. Armed only with kitchen knives and everyday tools, they forcefully broke open the gates of the school and began their escape. This flight was only the beginning. The rebellion shocked many. For Rome, gladiators were merely a source of entertainment. But under Spartacus's leadership, these people transformed into a rebel army. They demanded not only their own freedom, but the freedom of all those crushed under oppression. On the first day of the rebellion, over 70 gladiators escaped from the school and fled to the mountains. Fact 5. The rapid growth of the rebel army. What began as a small escape of gladiators under Spartacus' leadership quickly turned into a massive rebellion. From a small group retreating to the mountains, thousands of slaves, peasants, and freedom seekers gathered around Spartacus. They were no longer just fleeing prisoners. They had become a large army fighting for freedom. Spartacus's strategic mind and leadership skills played a major role in the rapid growth of this army. He had learned not only combat skills, but also how to organize a disciplined military force, training his fighters and uniting them as one. The rebel army was not only physically strong, but also carried a high spirit and determination. Their goal was clear: to end the oppression of the Roman Empire and win their freedom. In a short time, Spartacus's army confronted Roman legions in various regions of Italy and won several major victories. This rapid expansion turned Spartacus' rebellion into one of the greatest slave uprisings in history and made him a legendary leader. Fact 6. Spartacus's goal was freedom, not overthrowing the empire. Spartacus' main goal was not to overthrow the Roman Empire, but to break free from bondage. He never sought to claim the throne or seize the empire's power. His desire was simply freedom, to return to his native lands and to ensure a free life for those enslaved. Spartacus' plan was to move away from Rome across Italy and cross the Alps to return to his homeland in Thrace. A free homeland. For him, freeing people and giving them hope was more important than toppling an empire. However, some warriors in Spartacus' army had greater ambitions. They wanted to attack the city of Rome itself and shake the foundations of the empire. This idea conflicted with Spartacus' plans and made his efforts to control the direction of the rebellion even more challenging. Fact 7. The Roman army's early defeats against Spartacus. At first, the Roman Senate did not take Spartacus's rebellion seriously, and this proved to be one of their biggest mistakes. They believed Spartacus and his small groups of rebels would easily weaken and be crushed. However, the reality was completely different. Under Spartacus's leadership, the rebel army grew rapidly, and their fighting ability was far stronger than expected. They were not only physically powerful, but also moved with Spartacus's experienced strategic tactics. The Roman legions suffered several heavy defeats against Spartacus's forces. Spartacus's swift attacks and unexpected maneuvers confused the Roman army. The Roman legions followed one another on the battlefield, but Spartacus skillfully exploited their weak points. These defeats caused great fear within the Roman army and the Senate. The Senate was forced to take more serious measures and decided to send a great general to suppress Spartacus' rebellion. But by then, Spartacus had already become the empire's most dangerous enemy, and fighting his army would not be easy. Fact 8. Marcus Crassus sent against Spartacus in his early victories. Spartacus' rebellion posed such a great threat to Rome that the Senate sent their wealthiest and most powerful general, Marcus Crassus, to put an end to it. Crassus was not only wealthy, but also a leader known for his ruthless tactics. Under his command, the Roman legions launched a harsh and brutal campaign against Spartacus's army. In the initial battles, Crassus's legions managed to weaken Spartacus's rebellion to some extent, but were unable to achieve a complete victory. These fights marked a turning point in Spartacus's uprising. The great empire had now deployed its best general, and the battles ahead would be even more relentless. Fact 9. Spartacus's final battle and death. In 71 BC, the final and bloodiest battle took place between Spartacus and his army against the Roman legions. Spartacus refused to stay in the back during the fight. He took his sword in hand and charged alongside his soldiers into the enemy. This final stand was the greatest example of his leadership and courage. However, fate was cruel. Spartacus was killed in battle. His death and final fate remain a mystery in history because his body was never found. Some believe that Spartacus still fights spiritually for freedom. Fact 10. The crucifixion of Spartacus' followers along the Via Appia. After Spartacus' final defeat, the Roman Empire implemented a harsh and brutal punishment policy. Approximately 6,000 surviving rebels, Spartacus' followers, were crucified along a long march stretching from the city of Rome to the Via Appia Road. This horrific punishment was a display of the empire's power and a ruthless message to anyone daring to rebel. However, this cruelty could not break the spirit of Spartacus and his struggle. On the contrary, he was remembered for centuries as a symbol of freedom and justice. His story shows us that it is possible never to lose hope and to stand against oppression. If you share Spartacus' spirit, don't forget to like, share, and subscribe to our channel. See you in the next videos. Stay free and keep fighting.